there's a quiet suspicion that something is wrong. You work harder than your parents ever did, but you're not getting ahead. It's not in your head. For the last 40 years, a silent, invisible tax has been siphoned from every paycheck you've ever earned. You followed the rules, you got the good job, you worked the long hours, but if that effort isn't translating into real wealth, the question becomes, where is all that value going? In this investigation, you'll see the mathematical proof of why your hard work isn't making you wealthy and discover the 4 forms of leverage that are the real engine of financial freedom. But before we break down the math, here is your first move. Tonight, open a platform like X or Substack. Write for 15 minutes about a problem you solved this week, an insight from a book, or an opinion about your industry. The goal isn't to get likes, it's to start the habit of creating assets, not just trading time. This is the first turn of the key in your own prison cell. To truly feel the urgency to escape, you need to see the bars. You need to see the math that proves just how rigged this game is. We know the link between your output and your income has been severed, but the scale of this disconnect is difficult to comprehend. It isn't a rounding error, it isn't a few percentage points lost to inflation. It's a structural shift in the economy that has been quietly unfolding for 40 years, and the numbers are staggering. According to the Economic Policy Institute, between 1979 and 2019, the wages for the bottom 90% of American earners grew by just 26%. Over 4 decades, a real wage increase that barely registers. During that same period, wages for the top 1% of earners grew by over 160%. This isn't just a gap, it's a chasm. It's the mathematical proof that the rewards of increased productivity are flowing almost exclusively upwards. The real question is, what does this divergence actually cost the average professional? In 2020, researchers at the Rand Corporation decided to calculate the price tag. They asked a simple question: what would the income distribution look like today if it had remained as equitable as it was in the mid-1970s before this great decoupling began? The answer is a number so large it feels like a mistake. Over the past 4 decades, the upward redistribution of income from the bottom 90% to the top 1% has cost American workers $50 trillion. Let that sink in for a moment. $50 trillion. What was your first gut reaction to hearing that number? Drop a word or two in the comments. This isn't an abstract economic theory. This is the receipt for the greatest heist in modern history. A $50 trillion heist, and your career was one of the assets that was stolen. It's the hidden headwind that makes you feel like you're running in place, no matter how hard you work. It's the mathematical reason why your parents' generation could build a middle-class life on 1 income, and you feel like you're struggling on 2. And here is the most important thing you can do with this information. The most productive action you can take after hearing that number is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not getting ahead faster, for not having more to show for your years of effort. You weren't failing the game. You were playing a game that was mathematically designed for you to lose. Your feeling of being stuck isn't a personal failing, it's a rational response to a broken system. So why do we all keep falling for this mathematical trap? It's a psychological bias programmed into us from school that equates effort with results. Once you see this $50 trillion number, you can never unsee it. The game of trading your time for money is fundamentally broken. So what's the alternative? The answer is a single word that explains 99% of modern wealth: leverage. The old game is linear. 1 hour of your input equals 1 unit of output. A salary is the clearest example of this. You trade a fixed amount of time for a fixed amount of money. The only way to earn more is to work more hours, get a promotion, or switch jobs. It's a game of addition. But wealth isn't built by addition, it's built by multiplication. And the tool for multiplication is leverage. Leverage isn't about working harder. It's about making 1 hour of your work count 1,000 times. It's how you can get paid while you sleep. It's how one decision can generate value for years. It's the engine that turns effort into wealth. And in the modern world, there are 4 primary forms of it. 2 are ancient and 2 are new. The first 2 are labor and capital. Labor is the oldest form of leverage. It's hiring people to work for you. Your output is no longer limited by your own hours, but by the number of people you can effectively manage. This is the leverage of CEOs and managers. Capital is the second form. It's money at work. Every dollar you invest is like a tiny employee working for you 24/7 without ever getting tired or asking for a raise. This is the leverage of investors. For centuries, these were the only two paths to significant wealth. You either needed to command an army of people or an army of dollars. And here you see the gatekeepers. To use labor, you need capital to pay salaries. To use capital, you need capital to begin with. This is why wealth has historically concentrated. The tools for building it were locked behind a paywall. Until now, the two new forms of leverage have kicked the door off the hinges. They are code and media, and they're the great equalizers of our time. Consider the story of Daniel Vassallo. He was a software engineer at Amazon, earning a high six-figure salary. By all external measures, he had made it. He was playing the linear game at an expert level, yet he felt the same friction you do. He realized that even with a high income, his wealth wasn't growing in proportion to his effort. He was building Amazon's assets, not his own. His financial freedom was still decades away, tethered to a corporate ladder. So he did something that seemed crazy to his colleagues. He quit. He didn't have a grand business plan. He just started building an audience online by sharing his genuine insights on software and careers. He built trust, one tweet at a time. He then created a small, focused online course teaching a niche skill. That single course has now earned him over $500,000. He didn't hire a team. He used his specific knowledge, packaged as media, to generate income. And now, he uses that income as capital, investing it so his money works for him, not the other way around. He used a new form of leverage to gain access to the old one. Code is leverage in the form of software, apps, and automation. You can write a piece of code once, and it can serve millions of people. It's an army of robots that work for you for free, 24/7, without complaint. It's the purest form of scalable work. Sahil Lavingia, the founder of Gumroad, exemplifies this. His journey wasn't a straight line to success. He initially tried to build a billion-dollar venture-backed company, the kind you read about in headlines. He raised millions, hired a huge team, and nearly failed, burning through cash and laying off most of his staff. It was a painful, public lesson in the wrong kind of growth. He then pivoted. Instead of chasing unicorn status, he focused on building a sustainable, highly profitable business with a tiny, remote team. The platform itself, the code, is the leverage. It allows hundreds of thousands of creators to sell their digital products, processing over $500 million in payments in 2024. All of this happens without Lavingia having to be personally involved in every transaction. He built a machine that works not just for him, but for an entire ecosystem of creators. Media is the final form of leverage. It's building an audience. When you create content, a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, even a social media account, you're building an asset that works for you while you sleep. It's the leverage of attention and trust. Peter Levels is a master of this. As a solo entrepreneur, he built multiple online businesses like Nomad List and Remote OK that generate millions in revenue. He didn't spend a fortune on advertising or hire a big sales team. Instead, he built his businesses in public. He shared every win, every failure, and every line of code with his audience on Twitter. He wasn't just building a product, he was telling a story. His media presence became his ultimate leverage. When he was ready to launch a new product, he didn't need to buy ads or pitch journalists. He had a built-in distribution channel of thousands of people who already knew, liked, and trusted him. That attention is an asset more valuable than any factory or office building in the old economy. It's the currency of the new one: labor, capital, code, media. These are the four engines of wealth. Labor and capital are permissioned. You need someone's approval or existing wealth to use them. But code and media are permissionless. Anyone with a laptop and an internet connection can start building them today for free. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, which of these speaks to you? Do you have specialized knowledge you could teach, turning it into media? Do you see repetitive processes that could be automated with code? Do you have a small amount of savings you could begin to deploy as capital? Based on these 4 types, which one are you most drawn to right now? Code, media, capital, or labor? Let me know in the comments. To help you identify your personal leverage type, I've built a simple 1-page leverage finder worksheet. It's a diagnostic you can run in about 5 minutes to clarify which path makes the most sense for you to start with. The link is in the description and it's completely free. This is the blueprint. But blueprints don't show the pitfalls. The path of leverage is littered with traps that cause most people to give up and run back to the safety of a salary. And it's critical we talk about the most dangerous one. After seeing the potential of code and media, there is a powerful temptation to see leverage as a replacement for hard work, a magic button, an escape from effort. This is a profound and costly misunderstanding, and it's the primary reason so many who attempt this journey fail. They see the outcome, the person on a beach with a laptop, but they completely misunderstand the physics of how they got there. Leverage isn't a source of energy, it's a multiplier of force. Think of it like a crowbar. A crowbar can help you lift a massive boulder that you could never move with your bare hands. But the crowbar doesn't lift the boulder by itself. You still have to provide the initial force. You have to lean on it. You have to do the work. And a brilliant multiplier applied to zero effort is still zero. A crowbar lying on the ground lifts nothing. I've seen this play out a dozen times. A talented software engineer, earning a high salary, decides to quit their job to build an app. They have the skill. They have code leverage, but they have no audience, which is media leverage. And they have a limited runway of savings, which is capital leverage. They spend 6 months working 100-hour weeks, perfecting the product in isolation. They burn through their money, launch to the sound of crickets, and conclude that leverage is a lie. It's not. They just forgot that leverage multiplies what you've already built. They tried to multiply zero. They had no validated demand, no audience to launch to, no system for attention. Their code was a powerful engine sitting in a car with no wheels. This is the sober reality. The pursuit of leverage, especially through entrepreneurship, is risky, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you a fantasy. The stability and predictable income of a good job are not a trap to be mocked. They are a foundation of security for millions. And the focus on permissionless leverage can obscure the immense privilege required to even attempt it. The time, the education, the financial safety net to fall back on if it fails. The point is not to replace hard work. The point is to direct your hard work towards scalable systems. First, you must work hard to build a skill, to create something of value, to solve a specific problem for a specific person. Only then can you apply leverage to multiply that value. Hard work is the prerequisite. It's the fuel. Leverage is the engine. So before you start this journey, the most valuable thing you can do is run a pre-mortem. Ask yourself 3 questions to inoculate yourself against this mistake. First, what's the specific skill I have worked hard to build that I will be multiplying? Be honest. What are you genuinely in the top 25% at? Second, who's my audience of one? Forget about markets and niches. Who is the single real person whose problem I am solving? If you can't picture them, you don't have a starting point. And third, what's the smallest, lowest risk experiment I can run in the next 14 days to test if anyone actually cares about this? Not a business plan, an experiment. If you want more honest conversations about what it really takes to build wealth without the hype, take a second to subscribe. Here at Pragati Kunwer, Harkitri, Vibe Coding, we go deep on this every week. You now have the model and you know the traps to avoid. All that's left is to take the first step. Not tomorrow, tonight. Financial freedom can feel like an impossibly distant goal. The key is to stop focusing on the destination and start building a single system, a small engine that works for you. The journey begins not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet, deliberate action. So, what's the one move you can make tonight? Not 3. 1. Remember that first action from the beginning of this investigation? Writing online for 15 minutes? Now you understand the real reason why. It's not a diary. It's not for likes. It's your first brick in the foundation of a media asset. It's the habit of crystallizing your thoughts in public, the very first step to building an audience you own. That $50 trillion gap between the value you create and the money you earn is no longer just a source of frustration. It's now your opportunity. Every automated investment, every automated task, every piece of content you create is you reaching into that gap and methodically claiming a piece of the value you create. That's how you stop trading time for money. That's how you achieve financial freedom.